Good morning and welcome to the Friday version of our Livingston Parish News Daily Morning Show. It's 7:35 a.m. Do apologize for that, teenagers and such. I'm here with Mr. Brian Abels. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, McHugh. Thank you for having me this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. He's running for 21st JDC. He's going to be a district court judge. That seat was vacated by the Honorable Judge Hughes, who decided to retire on June 30th, which opened the way for you. So, before we get into that, we're going to jump into a few things real quick. Please remember, if you ever miss any of these shows or any of the podcasts, you can check them out. They are free. www.livingstonparishnewscom/podcast. So, quick run around with the traffic. It's your pretty usual day, folks. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Smaller delays, because a lot of people in the state aren't working on Friday. Ha, ha, ha. Heavy delays backed up to Jubin Road. However, they do clear up before O'Neill Lane. Minor delays after the 10-12 split. Nothing going on 190. Some small delays on River Road. Delays around the high school and junior high in Denham Springs, as well as Live Oak High School. And some minor delays at 447 and Arnold Road. It's currently 74 degrees. 88 degrees is your high today. There will be a 40% chance of isolated thunderstorms, so please keep an eye out for that. A couple of things going on today. The Chamber of Commerce did have a forum yesterday. You were there. We were looking or got to hear from some state level candidates. Mr. Kevin Fambro wrote those up. I took the photos. They will be coming up online after I edit them later this morning, so you'll be able to check that out. That was House District 95, House District 71, and Senate District 13. A lot of football going on tonight. Please check out our football podcast pre-show. We'll tell you everything you need to know about the football games coming up. Mr. Abels here is a Springfield guy. They will be playing their cross-interstate rival,
Right.
Albany. What's your pick? Give us a pick real quick.
Oh, man, that's putting me on the spot. But look, I can't go against my Bulldogs.
There you
go. Home field advantage, I think they'll do well.
Good. Well, they sure had a lot of fun doing that interview. If you're looking for that video, Rob got Mr. Janice and Mr. Sherpass together and let them do a little back and forth for about 17 minutes. It's a lot of fun. Check it out on our Facebook page. Other than that, it's time to jump into the man of the hour. Mr. Abels, we do appreciate you joining us today. As you said, you're doing well, so I hope you're doing well enough to give us some great answers for these questions. We're going to start off with some things about you as a person, and then we're going to kind of get into what your idea of the job you're running for. What's your idea of it? So first, when did you decide to go into law? And when you were deciding that, what was the thought process?
Well, I would say it was probably about 10th grade when I was at Springfield High School, and I am a graduate of Springfield High School, and been in Denham, of course, the last 22 years, and my practice is here in Denham Springs as well. But it was early on, and I loved to read as a young man. And as a kid, I read a lot. I was over at our little library at the time. It was a small library across the street from my home. And I'd walk over there and check out a bunch of books in the summertime and things like that. So I was a bit of a bookworm. And I knew that would tailor in well with the practice of law. I wasn't a real math and science guy, so none of that stuff really attracted me as far as a career and a profession.
Sure.
So when I went I started out at Southeastern and transferred to LSU and got a degree in criminal justice, which I thought would be a good undergraduate degree to then move on to law school, and it was. But really what I've told young people, I was at Live Oak High School earlier this week, you can go to law school with any undergraduate degree. My law partner, Marboye, has an undergraduate degree in chemical engineering, and he's now a lawyer. So went on to LSU Law School, enjoyed it. It sort of dampened my love of reading a little bit because you read so much in law school. I mean, it's all day. When you're not in class, you're reading cases and being prepared for the next day of class. But it was early on. I pretty much knew what I wanted to do at probably 15, 16 years old.
Well, and followed your passion. So, it drug you in. I know how that is. You got to read. So with that reading in mind and that passion for practice, what is your practice? What if you had to describe your field of law?
So I've been practicing for 22 years, and that 22 years is virtually all courtroom experience. I wanted to litigate. With a law degree, you can do so many things. I have friends that I went to law school with who are administrative law judges in the federal system, who are in government in some capacity, who run their own business that has nothing to do with law. But I wanted, and some practice law, like, do contracts, maybe do closings, who do very well in closings and things like that. But I wanted to litigate. I wanted to go to the courtroom, and that's why I wanted to be a lawyer. So I like the writing part of that. And so I started out in Baton Rouge, and in 2008, I came to my current firm as a partner. It's Boyer, Hebert, Abels, and Angel. Now, at the time, it was just Boyer and Hebert. Mark Boyer and I were the partners here, and there was one other partner in our other office in Brobridge, and we had one associate. We now have 4 partners, and we have, I think, 8 associates, maybe 9. We've grown pretty fast, and so my practice is with the other 3 partners is not only, well, 1, running the business, but 2, also my practice of litigation, and a lot of it is we do some personal injury type work, and we do some litigation in the area of property law and things like that. Most of mine is civil defense work. My clients get sued, I go in and I defend them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and you answered the question. It was, when did your firm come to be? You said you came back here in 2008 and it grew from there. Right. Obviously grew a lot.
Yes.
One of the things, and I'm gonna kind of go off subject here real quick, but we like to talk about, what happened during the flood, right? I've seen pictures of your office and, going to it in a boat and things of that nature. Right. I know your house flooded as well.
That's right. That's right.
So talk a little bit about that.
And let me go back to my practice a little bit too. We represent a lot of governmental entities. We represent the St. Martin Parish School System as well as the Livingston Parish School System. I represent town attorney for the town of Springfield. I am the magistrate judge there handling criminal matters, and I'm also the magistrate judge in Killian, where I've been in Springfield a magistrate for 4 years, but I've been the magistrate judge handling all of their criminal matters in their mayor's court for almost 10 years.
That's in Killian?
Yes, so thousands of criminal cases I've handled as the magistrate judge as well. But yeah, the flood got a double whammy. We got the office, and then later on that night, my house started to flood. But I can remember that Saturday. I was in Monroe litigating a case that Friday. Had trouble getting back to my home already because there was already such extensive flooding. Pulled cameras up Saturday morning at my office, and we could tell it was going to flood. Well, by the time I could get there, the only way to get there was by boat. Pulling things off the floor, just trying to get stuff. The water was at the door by the time we left. And yeah, there's a picture at my office now with the boat tied up in front of the office. And it was almost, and it was almost like something that just, you couldn't believe it was happening. And my heart goes out to the people in Southeast Texas now who are going through it yet again after going through it in 2017.
Man, that popped up quick, didn't it?
It did, very, very quick, and we know how that is here.
We
definitely do. That night I got back home and realized the water wasn't stopping. Where I live off Harris Road on the south side of Denham, we were going to get it, and of course we did. I woke up Sunday morning to 3 feet of water, as did pretty much everybody in Denham Springs, So I'm impressed by the people here, even though I was active in the community, and I still am. After something like that, you really see the heart and soul of your community, and this one's alive and well.
Yes, it is. And it takes a lot of resiliency, especially to navigate a lot of what we've dubbed around here the red tape recovery.
Right.
It's been, ruling after ruling after ruling, regulation after regulation after regulation. And I know you know all about that. So it's been pretty crazy. We would like to say good morning to Mr. Jonathan J.T. Taylor, who is with us this morning, as well as Mr. Kevin Fambro and Miss Amoroso. So good morning to all of you out there who are currently watching and who might be watching here in just a minute. Wait, we have a 4th comment. Mr. Jesse Gray, hello.
Good morning.
So let's move into what you're running for. What attracted you to the bench?
Well, I have been involved in the community for a long time, especially through my law firm and me personally, having served on the chamber board here for 9 years, the executive committee for 5. I was chairman of the board the flood year, 2016.
Right.
And just, before that, when my son was small, I coached out at Pards, basketball and baseball. And then we did some travel ball and baseball, and then he ended up playing for Denham Springs in baseball. He was starting first baseman his senior year, graduated in 2012. And so had all of that experience, plus my involvement in the chamber and in my church. And just, I always think we should give back. And so for me, going from, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, going from a partner in my firm that has now grown to over 30 employees, and we own now our 2 offices that we built in 2011 and 2012, this is true public service for me. And as I've traveled around the district, it's 3 parishes. Once this seat came open, and Judge Hughes decided to retire, and there was an opportunity for an open seat, I want to give back to this area, because growing up on the East End, I was in Tangipahoa Parish a lot growing up, because that's where we went. If you had to go buy something, you went to Hammond. If you need to go shopping or go to the movies or anything like that. So I grew up a lot in Hammond, but now being over here for 22 years, really the entire parish, I just feel a close connection to it, and I want to give back as a public servant.
Understood. And so, there's a couple of questions that come with judgeships. They're kind of, for a lot of people, it's kind of sort of this amorphous position, because, a lot of times you'll see that they kind of retract from the community, especially not necessarily while they're running for the job, but after they get it. We see that a lot. So in your opinion, what's the role of a judge in a community?
Well, and judges are different than other elected officials because of their unique position, where they are there to judge and to sit impartially and fairly with parties. There are a lot of rules that govern their conduct and what they can and cannot do, and those rules also apply to judicial candidates such as myself. So there are certain things that they can serve on, and certain boards that they can serve on, and things of that nature. But there's a lot of things that they are prohibited from doing. So while folks will see them maybe as sort of withdrawn, some of that is required and they have to do. One of the things I used to see Judge Hughes always at parts, he was a referee. Mm-hmm. And he refereed basketball, and when I was coaching there years ago, and he did a really good job, which I guess is a really good job for a judge. So those types of things you do see the judges, I think, in the communities and doing. But again, there are limitations on what judges can do, once elected. So.
And that's interesting. There are a lot of people who don't know that. It's a lot of times you see guys like yourself out on the campaign trail, and before that, you're maybe an attorney, you're out in the community, you're doing a lot of different things, and suddenly it's like elected as judge, and the timeline changes. So it's interesting to hear that there are a lot of rules, but I do, he has a lot of funny stories about him being a ref.
I bet.
So I was actually, as you were saying that, I had a mental image of you fighting with him on the basketball court, and then the next day fighting with him in the courtroom. So, so as you're going into the judgeship, one of the things it's interesting, and it's kind of like doctors, there's this sort of, it's not a Hippocratic oath, but it's a push against what makes us human, right? We have opinions, we have bias, but as a judge, you have to remain impartial. Or some of the mental hula hoops that you have to go through, exercises, reminding yourself of that kind of thing. I mean, tell us about that.
Yeah, and I always thought Judge Hughes did a really good job of that. I mean, every time as an attorney I would walk in his courtroom, I knew whatever the outcome, win or lose, I was going to get a fair shake. And that's what people want. Everywhere I've gone in this district, no matter which parish I'm in, no matter who I'm talking to, that's the thing that people want. They want to know that it doesn't matter who's on the other side, who is on the other side. They want to know that they're going to get a fair shake, and that the judge is going to be impartial and treat them also with respect. And that's what judges should do. And that's how we should act as judges. To step out of the role of advocate is hard. It's definitely a transition. I have also been a mediator for the last 5 years with MAPS. And as a mediator, you're a third party neutral. You go in, the parties hire your company, and they say, hey, from your company, I want Brian Abels to mediate our case. I want him to be our mediator. I actually did one just a couple of months ago, even after I announced my campaign. And you go in, you work with the parties as a disinterested third party. They inform you of the facts of the case and the nature of it, and you work with them to get it resolved short of trial. And mediation is, I think, a great tool for us to resolve conflicts short of all the cost and expense of trial. I went into that the other day in the forum we had in Hammond. It's expensive to litigate cases, extremely expensive. Not only attorney fees, but experts, all of your court costs, and those types of things. So especially for jury trials. So I think that my training as a mediator, I've been trained as a mediator, and my experience the last about 5.5 years as a mediator is going to uniquely equip me to serve as the next district court judge.
Well, and you know, that is a good way to put it. You're supposed to be a sort of disinterested third party. You're supposed to solve the issue. You know, in your opinion, what do you consider to be the biggest challenge? What's the biggest challenge that you face should you be elected?
Well, in our district, it's 3 parishes. So each judge, there are 6 general jurisdiction judgeships, and general jurisdiction means all those judges here are civil and criminal matters. That's what this judgeship is. This is a judge that will hear civil and criminal matters only. We now have 2 separate family court divisions, 2 judges who all they do is domestic and family court cases. We have 1 juvenile judge who hears just juvenile matters. So for those 6 judges that are general jurisdiction, such as this one, Division D, you only hear those criminal and civil matters that are assigned to that division. But you get cases assigned, obviously, in all 3 parishes in the district. But you only have so many dates in each parish each month. I think one of the biggest things that are big difficult things is keeping your docket moving and keeping cases moving when maybe you're in Livingston this week to hear civil cases, but you may not be back in Livingston for 5 or 6 weeks to hear civil matters again. So it's difficult sometimes to keep those cases moving. You only get limited jury trial weeks, in each parish. It's unlike East Baton Rouge where the judges just serve that one parish. They don't move. They go to one courthouse and that's it. Right. Whereas the judges here go for 3. So I think just being diligent, working hard, and just keeping those cases moving. One of the things I've been told by attorneys, make decisions. Right or wrong, we have a court of appeal, but make a decision. Give the party some closure one way or the other. And if someone is aggrieved or doesn't like the decision, they'll take it up to the Court of Appeal and you'll find out if you're right or wrong.
Right. So that's kind of interesting. You're talking about the way the East Baton Rouge Parish courts are set up and the way state courts are set up and that sort of thing. Out here you've got to bounce around a little bit. Tell us a little bit about how that works. You touched on it a little bit there, but go in a little more depth.
Yeah, and they used to call it back in the day riding the circuit. The judges rode the circuit and heard cases in different places. So our 21st Judicial District is Livingston, Tangipahoa, and St. Helena parishes. And so the judges there, the cases they hear in each parish, there's only certain dates. And they can't be in all 3 at once. And a Livingston Parish case will be heard in Livingston. A Tangipahoa Parish case will be heard in Meade. And St. Helena Parish case will be heard in Greensburg. So you can't pull one of those cases to another parish and say, well, we're just going to handle this case here and I'm going to stay in this parish. No, you've got to go there where the suit has been filed or where the criminal matter is pending. So we're not unique. There are other 3 parish districts, the 23rd, which is Ascension, Assumption, and St. James. But I think we are unique, and there's also one in the southwestern part of the state. But I think we are unique in that we are growing so fast. Now, Ascension is too, but we've got really 2 parishes here, Tangipahoa and Livingston, along this I-12 corridor that are growing, like crazy. I mean, we see it right here in Denham all the time. So as more people move in, more things get filed, there's more criminal actions perhaps being pursued. It makes the dockets a lot heavier.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Abels, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to talk about more than what we've talked about here this morning?
Well, one of the things I want to stress here is that it is an open seat. There is no incumbent. There is no sitting judge running for this division. There are 3 attorneys. Of the 3 attorneys, I've been practicing the longest. I certainly have the most litigation experience, and I just want to ask everybody for their vote on October 12th. And early voting starts a week from tomorrow, September 28th.
That is correct, and he stole my thunder on that one. So the clerk of court, well, first, let me thank you for being here this morning. We appreciate you joining us on the show. The clerk of court and the registrar of voters, that would be Jason Harris and Jared Andrews, respectively, have asked that we push early voting. It's from September 28th, week from tomorrow, through the next Saturday, October 5th. It will not be on Sunday. It's open from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. on both locations, all of those days that they are open. Now, the reason they're pushing it is because October 12th is your voting day. That is also the day that the LSU Tigers will play Florida on CBS. It's a day game. Everybody knows how that goes. You want to try to get out there for 10 a.m. The games last for 4.5 hours because of commercials, and before you know it, you've missed voting. It's also the Saturday of Fair Week. So there's a lot going on that Friday. That Saturday, excuse me. They're not looking to compete for attention with those things. What they're asking is, why not go ahead, go cast your vote, and then Saturday, the only thing you've got to worry about is the results. I know I'm going to be one of them. But then again, I also have to cover them for my job. So anyway, early voting is being pushed Saturday the 28th through October the 5th, not on Sunday. It's at the Denham Springs Walker Branch Library as well as the Registrar of Voters office, 8:30 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. Keep that in mind. Again, we want to thank Mr. Brian Abels for being here one more time around the bend with your traffic. Things are clearing up. Friday is always an easy traffic day. It looks like those delays have kind of moved into Baton Rouge, and they are minor now, not heavy. No delays after the 10-12 split. And Livingston Parish is basically cleared up of traffic. So happy Friday to you guys who might still be on the road here at about 8 o'clock a.m. Currently 74 degrees, 88 degrees is your high. 30% chance now, not 40, of afternoon thunderstorms. One more time. Thank you, Mr. Abels, for joining us. We will be recording a long-form podcast here in a few minutes that you'll be able to check out. We'll be jumping into some more questions, a little more in depth on the questions that I already asked you. So we appreciate you hanging out for that. Remember, if you ever miss any one of these shows, we do post them online, www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. They are free there. We have audio and video versions. If you're out on the road, all you got to do is open up the audio, press play, and boom, it's playing through your car speakers. We would appreciate it if you checked us out there. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Please check us out there. We'd appreciate that. We are twice a week in print. We were once on Thursdays and once on Saturdays. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. We're checking out on this morning show. Please check us out on Facebook and Twitter tonight for your football updates. And we will be releasing Mr. Abels' podcast this afternoon, so be on the lookout for that. Have a great day.